Looks like I'm a pretty nostalgic guy. The Whippy Dip. While drifting through a sleepy town some years ago near Memphis, I spotted something I'd not seen in many, many years. I hit the brakes and did a U-ey, pulled in just out front, then seconds later felt my startled eyes confronting tears. A drive-in theater, looking like it couldn't have shown a picture or sold a bag of popcorn for a decade, maybe more, stood there staring back at me, while a bit of mathematics told me I'd not been in one since 1964. I noticed, as I scanned the place, the screen looked rather weary. The parking lot was pretty rough and overgrown with weeds. Racing through my mind were thoughts of how it used to be, the sort that every boomer over 50 sometimes needs to fortify the way they view their past, the way they feel about the days of long ago when they were young and strong. I surfed my trusty iPod till I found some Elvis tunes, then closed my eyes and watched him as he sang my favorite song. The song and show of his I love the most is Love Me Tender. His timeless music's common, but his films are hard to find. The giant screen reminded me how quickly we forget, and how it's true that, sadly, out of sight is out of mind. But being late was not a good idea for my appointment, so back into the car I dove, then back into the race. Smiling as I drove away, I hoped to long remember the way it felt to spend some quiet moments at that place. But I had driven barely maybe 6 or 7 miles when I confronted something that we all have often seen. Posing on a corner in another tiny town was what was called the Whippy Dip, your basic Dairy Queen. Far enough ahead to give me time to safely stop, thoughts of being late flew out the window, and I did. The gal who took my order must have felt a little spooked to see me come a-running like some frantic little kid. "I'll take a chocolate sundae and a large banana split," I wheezed in my excitement, "and a smoothie, lemon lime." Her puzzled look that seemed to ask, "All that for just one guy?" showed she didn't realize I was stepping back in time. From end to end, the place was rife with memory-tweaking items, and in the background, Rick was crooning, "Hello, Mary Lou," and the folks that filled the picnic tables, young and old alike, beneath the pink and yellow glow were, all but for a few, softly singing with him, and I grabbed a nearby seat. I swear that I have never seen a more nostalgic sight. But when I went to get my food, I saw a sign that read, "Friday, August 17th will be our final night." "You're closing for the year?" I queried. "Seems a little early." "Summer's barely halfway over, hon. Is something wrong?" "Sir," the gal explained to me, "we'd love to keep it open. It's always sad to see a place that's been around this long take the fall, but rising costs and ruthless competitions lured away too many of the customers we had. I'm the youngest daughter of the man who built this place, and closing it, I'm sad to say, will all but kill my dad." The Cherry Top in Baxter held an auction back in April. The year before, the Zesto down in Wilton closed its doors. Everything we sell is just as good and often cheaper, but it's an uphill battle fighting giant franchise stores. Their children's meals include free toys, and when the weather's poor, folks can simply walk inside and find themselves a seat. And they've got blacktop parking lots, or paved ones. We've got gravel. It's common knowledge little shops like ours cannot compete. Like I said, it's really sad to see a place like this close its doors, but sure enough, Come Friday night, we must. What's more, she stammered weakly, as her eyes were welling up, once again next April, once the Bellevue Bank and Trust advertises widely, this old place will disappear. Folks from miles around will come to watch with bated breath as what is Jasper County's last and oldest Dairy Queen sells at auction, like the others, fast food chained to death. I walked away with tear-dimmed eyes. My mind was racing fast. I sat down at a picnic table, took my cell phone out, called my wife and told her that, when I got home that night, there was something pretty wild we'd need to talk about. I sat there deep in thought for what I'd say was half an hour, then finally trotted up and asked the lady for a Coke. Sounds to me like all you need to do is spend some dough to make this place competitive. Unless, of course, you're broke. We'd have done that long ago, she said. But see, the bank wants this land to build a mall and will not make a loan. I see, I calmly countered. So your profit margin's suffering. Well, maybe I can help with that. I'll take a chocolate cone. That's correct, she added. And we've asked the bank for help to add a large addition so our guests could eat inside, and paint the things that need it, fix the sign, and pave the lot. But all they've said is, you're not worth it, every time we've tried. What the lady told me had me fuming. I was moved. Learning what their bank was up to had me really miffed. Dear, I told her, what your business needs is not a loan, but something guys like me can give. A philanthropic gift. What you need's a benefactor, someone they don't know backing you for everything, and I am just the guy. I've got tons of money, hun, and love old Dairy Queens. Then reaching in to take her hand, I looked her in the eye. I'll provide the needed funds for making your improvements, so you can take that closing sign and toss it in the trash. The place will still be yours alone. There'll be no strings attached. I'm just going to help you stay in business with some cash. Staying till she closed that night, I waited in the office. Then, after all the doors were locked and outside lights were dark, me and Mrs. Schimmel sat and penciled out some changes. The first was trading 3 dead trees for 5 more spots to park. We drew up plans for adding on a good-sized room out back that seated close to 40, where her customers could dine when weather wasn't all that nice. And I, of course, proposed running ads with specials and a slightly larger sign. See, advertising's what I do, my line of work for years. Together, me and Helen made the plans that I was sure would turn around her business at no cost at all to her, and guarantee the Whippy Dip would thrive and thus endure. The days of barely making it, or actually losing money, very quickly ended, and the bank would have to find someone else to turn their backs on, someplace else to build, and not tear down that lovely place for what they had in mind. Well, that was 30 years ago, and once or twice each summer, me and Connie pack the car and take our little trip to visit Mrs. Schimmel and her son, who runs the place, and savor tender memories at that busy Whippy Dip.